I want to start today with a piece of art.
Oh, okay.
Well, I say art. I'm using the word very loosely here.
Right.
In fact, I think I want to share what might be one of the single worst pieces of poetry ever written down.
Oh, this is going to be good. I'm ready.
It's about Niagara Falls. And the story goes, this man, he spent a whole week just staring at the water, trying to find inspiration, trying to capture its majesty. And this is what he came up with. Are you ready?
I embrace myself. I think I've heard rumors of this one. Let's hear it.
Okay, get ready. It's, oh, Niagara, Niagara, you're a staggerer, a staggerer.
Wow.
Right?
That's profoundly terrible.
It is, isn't it? It's almost physically painful to say out loud. You're a staggerer. It sounds like he's accusing the waterfall of being, I don't know, drunk.
It really does.
But here's the question that, that really gets me, and it's the question we are going to try to answer today. Why is that bad?
Why is it bad?
Yes, I mean, we all know it is. You know it, I know it. If I read that in a room, everyone would groan. But if I asked you to prove logically why that is just doggerel and why, say, a line from Shakespeare is art, it gets really slippery really fast.
It does.
Like, can you actually write down a formula that proves staggerer is the wrong word?
You just hit on the absolute central problem of aesthetics. The Niagara problem, if we can call it that.
Let's do it.
We all have this deep feeling, this intuition that we know what beauty is, and we definitely know what it isn't. But the moment we try to pin it down with rules, it vanishes.
It evaporates.
It's like trying to grab smoke.
Exactly. And that is where we are going today. We are doing a deep dive into a very specific, and I would say a pretty mind-bending part of Immanuel Kant's philosophy, specifically his critique of judgment. We're looking at what he calls the dialectic of taste, and we're going to try to figure out why that Niagara poem has no soul, why judging beauty is actually a massive philosophical contradiction, and why looking at a sunset might actually be a moral duty.
It is a fascinating journey. And I think the mission here, based on all the research, is to really understand why we feel that beauty should be universal.
Right.
Because, think about it, if you see a beautiful sunset and you say, that's beautiful, and I turn to you and say, it's just, water vapor and light refraction, you don't just think I have a different opinion.
No, I think you're broken.
Exactly.
I think there's something fundamentally missing in your software.
Precisely. You feel that I ought to agree with you.
Yeah.
And we're going to explore why you feel that way. The texts we're using analyze how Kant tries to bridge this huge gap between the physical world, nature, physics, the stuff we can measure, and the moral world of freedom and human connection. And his bridge
is art and taste.
Is art and taste. So, okay, we are not just talking about pretty pictures today. We're not just making fun of bad poetry.
No, we are talking about, and this is his phrase, the supersensible substrate of humanity. Supersensible substrate. Okay, that is a $10 phrase if I ever heard one. Let's unpack that because it sounds, frankly, terrifyingly academic. But before we get to the substrates, I want to go back to that word I used, soul.
Yes.
Because the source material spends a lot of time defining this. When we say a piece of art has soul or an artist has soul, we usually mean they're, emotional or deep.
Authentic.
Right, authentic. But Kant is being very, very technical here, isn't he?
He is, and it's really important to clarify that in this context, soul, or Seele in the original German, it's not being used in a religious way. He's not talking about ghosts or an afterlife.
Okay.
It's an aesthetic term. The text defines it as the animating principle in the mind.
The animating principle. Okay, so it's like the spark.
It's the spark, but it's a bit more than that. It's what brings a work of art to life. It's the difference between, say, a mannequin and a real person. They might look the same on the surface, but one has an internal drive, what he calls a quickening of the faculties.
The text makes this really interesting distinction I want to get into between taste and genius.
Yes.
And I think I always kind of assumed they were the same thing. If you're a genius, you must have good taste. If you have good taste, you're probably a genius. But Kant says, no, these are totally different departments in the brain.
Completely different departments. And this is a crucial distinction if we want to understand our Niagara poet.
The staggerer.
The staggerer. According to the text, taste is a critical faculty. It's the ability to judge.
So it's the editor.
It's the editor.
Yeah.
That's a perfect way to put it. Taste is what allows you to look at a painting and say, this is balanced, this works, the colors don't clash. Taste is about discipline. It's about correctness.
So taste is the critic. Taste is the guy standing there saying, I don't think stagger really works with Niagara.
Exactly. Taste provides the rules, the boundaries. But taste on its own cannot create anything new. For creation, you need genius. Genius is the productive faculty of the soul. And the source points out a paradox here that I just love. A work can be perfectly beautiful in a commonplace, popular sense, but have no soul at all.
Wait, hold on. Explain that. How can something be beautiful but have no soul?
Well, think about, I don't know, really well-produced elevator music.
Okay, I can picture that.
Or a stock photo of a business meeting.
Oh, I see. Yes. The lighting is perfect. Everyone's smiling. The composition is technically correct. It follows all the rules of photography.
Right. It's polite, it's pretty, it matches the color of the sofa in the waiting room, it doesn't offend anyone, but it's dead.
It's dead. There's nothing there.
It lacks that animating principle. It doesn't make you feel anything other than, oh, that's nice. Kant says that true fine art, the art with soul, requires what he calls aesthetic ideas.
Aesthetic ideas. Okay, is that just a fancy way of saying it has a theme?
It's a bit more slippery than a theme. An aesthetic idea is a representation of the imagination that provokes endless thought, but, and this is the absolute key, it can't be pinned down to a single specific concept. You can't just explain it away in one sentence.
Okay, so like a greeting card has a concept. Happy birthday, boom, done, I get it.
Exactly. The concept is, I am wishing you a happy birthday. It's fully contained, there's no mystery. But now think about a poem like T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland, or a painting like Van Gogh's Starry Night. What does Starry Night mean?
It means the sky is swirling. It means turbulence. It means despair, joy. It means a lot of things. I couldn't possibly sum it up.
Precisely. It generates more thoughts than you can ever express in words. That's the soul. It's that overflow, that surplus of meaning. A greeting card tells you exactly what to feel. A great work of art makes you feel 10 things at once, and you can't quite articulate why.
And this brings us right back to our friend the Niagara poet, the stagger.
Just staggered.
So why does he fail the soul test? Is it just because he picked a bad word?
It's deeper than just a bad vocabulary choice. The source argues that the difference between him and a true poet is that the true poet is definitely articulate. The true poet takes that overwhelming feeling of the waterfall, that raw sensory input, and transforms it into an aesthetic idea.
Yeah.
Our Niagara poet just got hit in the face with the water and shouted the first rhyme he could think of. He was overwhelmed by the data. He didn't process it.
He didn't transform it. He just reacted.
Yes.
But here's the part of the text that really surprised me. It makes this incredibly bold claim. It says the simple judgment that is beautiful is already a form of poetry.
This is a beautiful idea, isn't it? It's so democratic.
It's wild. You're telling me that just me standing there at the Grand Canyon and going, wow, is a creative act.
It is, because think about what you're doing. You're not just reporting a fact. If you said, that is H2O falling over a limestone shelf at a rate of 3,000 cubic feet per second, you're being a scientist. You're describing nature.
Right, and boring everyone around me.
But when you say, that is beautiful, you are interpreting. You are projecting a poetic sense onto that raw data. The text says, you are looking at nature as if it were a work of art. You are finding a meaning in it that isn't just geological. So the Niagara poet tried to go a step further to write it down, and he failed because he lacked the genius to articulate it properly. But the impulse to judge something as beautiful in the first place, that's the same impulse that Shakespeare has. It implies you have a soul.
So even if I'm not an artist, the fact that I can appreciate beauty means I have this productive imagination working inside me. I'm not just a passive receiver of data.
Yes. The source says that taste is necessary to judge if something is beautiful, but genius is required to produce it. But to even make that judgment, you're tapping into a shared, indeterminate poetic sense. You're using an analogy. You're connecting to something bigger.
That leads us to a really weird problem that the source brings up next, and I feel like this is where we start to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Does nature have a soul? Because if art has a soul, because an artist, a genius, put it there, well, who put the soul in the sunset?
That is the philosophical problem in a nutshell. Art has a producer, a human with a soul. Da Vinci put his soul into the Mona Lisa. But nature sunsets, flowers, crystals, the plumage of a bird does not have a human producer.
Right.
So if we say a flower has soul, or a landscape has a sad mood, or a willow tree is weeping, are we just making that up?
Are we just hallucinating?
Essentially, yes. The source calls this the projection theory. We interpret nature by analogy with art. We see a willow tree, its branches are drooping. We know that when a human's shoulders droop, they're often sad. So we say the tree is sad.
But the tree isn't sad.
The tree isn't sad. The tree is just fighting gravity and, doing its biological thing. It's purely mechanical. But we credit the object with soul because our own souls are resonating with this form.
So we're essentially painting the world with our own humanity. We are spray painting feelings onto rocks and trees.
We are. And the implication of this is fascinating. We only credit an individual person with soul when they rise above the common property of their culture. If you just repeat what everyone else says is beautiful, you're showing, let's say, common soul. But when you create something new, or you see beauty where others don't, that's when the super sensible part of you kicks in.
Okay, you dropped that word again. Super sensible. And I know we're heading for a big collision here because the source talks about the great conflict or the antinomy of taste. This sounds like the main event.
It is. This is the core of what Kant calls his dialectic. In philosophy, a dialectic is often where you take two principles that seem to be in total opposition and you smash them together to find a higher truth.
And Kant finds a massive contradiction in how we talk about beauty.
A massive one. He calls it an antinomy.
An antinomy.
Right. An antinomy is a pair of statements that both seem true, but they logically contradict each other. It's a paradox that threatens to bring the whole system down.
Okay, lay it on me. Let's see if we can break our brains. What are the two sides of this fight?
Okay, on one side you have the thesis. The thesis states, the judgment of taste is not based on concepts.
Not based on concepts. So, meaning there are no rules for beauty.
Exactly. If beauty were based on concepts, on logical, provable rules, we could prove a painting is beautiful. I could write down a formula. If a painting has 60% red, uses the golden ratio, and features a dog, it is objectively beautiful. And if you disagreed, I could prove you wrong with logic.
Right. You could take me to court and win a lawsuit for bad taste.
You could. But obviously you can't do that. You can't argue someone into liking a song. You can say, but listen to the chord progression. It's mathematically perfect. If I hate it, I hate it.
There's no proof.
You cannot compel taste with a syllogism.
Okay.
So the thesis seems true. No proof for beauty.
Okay. That makes sense. I'm with you so far.
But now look at the other side. The antithesis. The antithesis states, the judgment of taste is based on concepts.
Wait, you just said it wasn't.
I know. But listen to the argument for the antithesis. If beauty weren't based on some kind of concept, we couldn't argue about it at all. We would just say, I like chocolate, you like vanilla, and walk away.
It would just be a personal preference.
Purely personal preference, like the taste of food. But we do contend about art. We have critics. We give out awards. We expect others to agree with us when we say Citizen Kane is a masterpiece.
That's so true. If I say Citizen Kane's a great movie and you say it's trash, I prefer the latest Adam Sandler movie, I don't just think, oh, well, different strokes for different folks.
No.
I think you're wrong. I think you missed the point. I think you missed the concept of what makes a film great.
Exactly. You demand agreement from me. You feel like you're right and I'm wrong. And that implies there is a right answer. And if there's a right answer, there must be some kind of rule or concept governing it.
So we have a huge problem. The thesis says beauty isn't based on concepts because we can't prove it. The antithesis says beauty is based on concepts because we argue about it as if there's a right answer.
And they can't both be true.
This feels like a trap. It feels like we're just fundamentally irrational. We're arguing about something that, in the same breath, we admit we can't prove. So how does Kant get out of this mess? Does he just shrug and say, well, art is weird?
No, he pulls what the source calls his magic trick.
Ah.
He says both sides are right, but they're talking about two different kinds of concepts.
I knew there was a catch. It's always semantics with these philosophers, isn't it?
It is, but it's brilliant semantics. He says the thesis is right. Beauty is not based on determinate concepts.
Determinate,
Yes.
meaning defined, measurable.
Exactly. Specific, like triangle or kilogram or the law of gravity. Concepts you can write down in a textbook. You cannot write a rule book for beauty.
Okay, got it. No rule book.
But, he says, the antithesis is also right. It is based on an indeterminate concept.
An indeterminate concept. Okay, hold on. Let's try to visualize this because my brain is starting to leak a little. If I say this triangle has 3 sides, I'm using a determinate concept. I can count them. If you say it has 4 sides, you are objectively wrong.
Correct.
But when I say this movie is profound or this poem has soul, I'm pointing at something, but I can't measure it with a ruler. It's fuzzy.
Exactly. You were pointing at a cloud rather than a box. Kant says we're arguing about the cloud as if it were a box. We're referring to something real, but it's not something we can fully grasp or define. And that indeterminate concept is the supersensible.
Okay, we are back to the supersensible, the final boss. We really need to nail this down for everyone listening and for me. What is the super sensible in this context? Explain it like I'm 5, or, maybe like I'm a reasonably smart 12-year-old.
Okay, I like that. Think of the super sensible as the operating system of the universe.
The OS. Okay, I can work with that.
We have the user interface, the icons on your computer screen. That's nature. Trees, rocks, waterfalls, things we can see and touch and click on. That's the sensible world.
Got it. The physical world.
Then we have our own choices.
Right.
We decide to open a file or write an email or delete a photo. That's freedom. That's morality. That's the intelligible world, the world of what we ought to do.
So nature is the screen and freedom is the mouse click.
Roughly, yes.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. We can't see the code running in the background that connects the mouse click to the icon on the screen. We just trust that it works. We assume there's a logic connecting our intention to the result. That hidden code, that deep underlying structure that makes the whole thing run, that's the super sensible.
So it's the bridge.
It is the ultimate bridge. It connects the realms of nature with the realms of freedom. When we judge something as beautiful, we aren't using a rule from the nature side, like physics. And we aren't using a rule from the freedom side, like a moral law against stealing. We're referring to this vast, indeterminate background, the super sensible, where we have this deep feeling that the world makes sense and that we as free beings actually fit into it.
So when I stand at Niagara Falls and I'm just overwhelmed by it, I'm not checking a box that says water volume plus height equals beauty. I'm tapping into this deep shared feeling that there's a harmony between my mind and the world.
That is a beautiful way to put it. You are sensing that the world isn't just a random collection of atoms, but that it has a kind of finality or purpose that resonates with your own mind.
Mm-hmm.
And because we all share this super sensible substrate of humanity, I expect you to feel it too.
And that's why I get annoyed if you write a bad poem about it.
Yes. I feel like you are failing to connect with our shared humanity. You're misreading the code.
That is deep. It's like, ooh. Beauty is the evidence that we aren't alone in the universe, not in the alien sense, but in the sense that our minds actually belong here, that we aren't just ghosts trapped in a machine.
Yes. And this leads directly to the next major point in the source material, which I think is one of the most profound and maybe controversial ideas in the whole text.
Okay.
Beauty is the symbol of the morally good.
Whoa, whoa. Stop the tape. Beauty is the symbol of the morally good.
That is the claim.
Oh, okay, I have to stop you there. Because that sounds incredibly elitist. Are you telling me that because I might like reality TV and instant coffee, I'm a morally bad person?
Right.
Because that's what it sounds like Kant is saying. That sounds like he's saying good taste equals a good person. And we all know plenty of historical villains who loved opera and fine art.
That is a very fair pushback and a very modern one. We tend to separate these things completely today. We say taste is subjective, morality is objective. But Kant isn't saying that having good taste makes you a saint.
Okay.
He's saying the structure of how we appreciate beauty is analogous to how we practice morality. It's like training wheels for being a good person.
Yeah. Training wheels for morality. How? One is about looking at a painting, and the other is about, not lying to your spouse. They seem like totally different things.
The source draws some really specific parallels.
Yeah.
Let's start with the concept of being disinterested.
Okay, disinterested usually just means bored. I am disinterested in this conversation.
In philosophy, it has a technical meaning.
Mm.
It means unbiased or not driven by personal gain.
Ah.
When you look at a beautiful painting of a bowl of fruit, do you want to eat the fruit in the painting?
No. I mean, maybe if I'm starving, but generally, no. I just want to look at it.
Right. You don't want to consume it. You don't want to own it or possess it. You're just happy that it exists, regardless of what it can do for you.
Yeah.
Your pleasure comes from pure contemplation.
Okay. I get that.
Now, compare that to hunger. If I'm actually hungry and I see a real apple, I don't care about the lighting or the composition. I just want to eat it. That feeling is interested. It's based on my appetite, my personal need.
So appetite is selfish, and appreciating beauty is unselfish.
Exactly. And moral goodness is the same. If I help an old lady across the street because I'm hoping she'll write me into her will, that's not a moral act.
That's a transaction.
It's a transaction. It's an appetite for money. I'm only truly moral if I do it for the sake of the good itself, disinterested in my own personal gain.
So practicing the appreciation of beauty, learning to love things just because they are beautiful, not because of what they give me, is actually practicing the mental habits of morality.
That is the perfect analogy. The source says that taste makes the transition from the charm of sense, like eating and drinking, to habitual moral interest possible without a violent leap. It elevates the mind.
No.
When you stop to appreciate a sunset, You are, for a moment, stepping out of your own selfish needs, your hunger, your ambition, your worries, and you're celebrating a harmony that exists outside of you.
This reminds me of that example in the source, the one about Peter Bell.
Ah, yes. Wordsworth's Peter Bell, the ultimate anti-hero of the Romantic era.
The source quotes the poem. It says, "A primrose by a river's brim. A yellow primrose was to him, and it was nothing more."
Poor Peter Bell.
But wait, what? Poor Peter. Maybe Peter's just a practical guy. He's a botanist. He sees a flower. He identifies it. Yellow primrose. Job done. Why is the text so mean to him about this?
The source is actually quite harsh on Peter Bell. It implies he lacks the germ of a good moral disposition.
Ouch! That's a serious charge. Just because he didn't get all poetic about a flower, that seems incredibly judgmental.
It is.
Yeah.
But look at it from Kant's perspective. Peter Bell sees the biology. He sees the fact, the determinate concept. But he sees nothing more. He misses the symbol. He misses the bridge to the supersensible.
So he's stuck in the world of objects.
By seeing nothing more, he's effectively dissociating himself from the human brotherhood. He's living in a world of mere dead facts, separated from that shared feeling of awe and wonder that connects us all. He's isolated.
So he's living in a universe of objects, not a universe of meaning.
Exactly. And that's why we feel that pressure to agree on beauty. We're trying to confirm that we're all part of the same moral community. When I say, look at that beautiful moon, and you say, wow, I feel safe. I feel like we're in the same world. If you say it's just a rock, I feel alone.
Wow. That makes me want to go out and stare at a flower right now. I don't want to be Peter Bell. I want to be in the club.
None of us do. We all crave that connection.
But this brings up a tricky question about nature itself. We've been talking about projecting our soul onto nature, hallucinating sadness onto willow trees. But is there actual beauty in nature? Or is it all just in our heads? The source gets into this realism versus idealism debate.
This is section 4 in our breakdown, and it's a huge question. This is where we ask, is the beauty in the object, or is it in the eye of the beholder?
And realism would say it's in the object, right?
Realism would say that nature is beautiful because it was designed to please us. Like a higher power god or some cosmic architect painted the sunset specifically so you would enjoy it. It's a gift made for you.
Which is a very comforting thought. It means we're kind of the main characters of the universe.
It is. But Kant rejects it.
Why?
He thinks it assumes too much. It's too easy. And it's impossible to prove. Why would a creator make beautiful, intricate things in the bottom of the ocean where no human can see them? Kant leans hard toward idealism. He says, and this is a great quote, "It is we who receive nature with favor, and not nature that does us a favor."
So nature's just doing its thing, following its laws, and we are the ones who come along and decide that some of it is beautiful.
The source gives a fantastic example to prove this. Crystallization.
The ice example. I actually love this part because it got super nerdy for a second.
It's a great example. Think about water freezing. The source describes how water molecules form ice needles at perfect 60-degree angles. This happens because of chemical and mechanical laws. It's just physics. The water isn't trying to be pretty.
It's not thinking, I bet the humans will love this geometry.
Exactly. It isn't trying to make a snowflake design for a Christmas card. It's just molecules arranging themselves in the most efficient way according to heat laws. Yet, when we see frost on a window or the pattern of a snowflake, we find it incredibly beautiful. We see art, we see design, we see soul.
But the design isn't there for us, it's just the mechanism of nature.
And the source mentions the plumage of birds and the shells of crustaceans, too.
Right, a peacock's tail.
Evolution tells us that's for mating. It's sexual selection. It's all about survival and passing on genes.
It's a biological billboard saying, I have good genes, pick me.
Precisely. It's about utility. But we look at it and see a masterpiece of iridescent color. We don't think about genes, we think about art. The argument for idealism is that we project finality or purpose onto these objects because our mental faculties are quickened by them. They wake us up.
Quickened, I like that word. It's like our imagination starts playing a game with the object. It's not just passively receiving it.
Exactly. And that free play of the imagination is where beauty actually lives. Not in the feathers, not in the ice, but in the interaction between the object and our mind. It's a collaboration. Nature provides the data, we provide the poetry.
This really shifts the responsibility, doesn't it? It's not nature's job to be beautiful. It's our job to have the capacity to see it. It's our job not to be Peter Bell.
Which brings us right back to the social aspect. If seeing beauty is our job, it's a job we do together. The source talks about The sense is communist.
The common sense.
Right.
Now, when I hear common sense, I think of, knowing not to touch a hot stove or looking both ways before crossing the street, practical stuff.
In Kant, it means something much deeper. It means a communal sense, a shared feeling. The source argues that to be fully human signifies two things. First, a universal sympathy, and second, the faculty of communicating one's inmost self.
Communicating one's inmost self. That's what art is, right?
It is. We have these private feelings inside us, awe, sadness, joy. If we can't share them, we're locked in solitary confinement. Taste is the language we use to let others in. The source describes taste as the mean, the middle ground between high culture and the modest worth of nature. It's how we civilize ourselves.
The source gets a little political here, which I didn't expect. It starts talking about a cosmopolitan society.
Yes, this is the ultimate goal for him. He thinks we're working toward a society where culture and nature are finally bridged. And Kant sees taste as a regulative principle.
A regulative principle.
We act as if a universal consensus on beauty exists. We act as if we can all agree in order to help push society toward this cosmopolitan ideal.
Wait, so arguing about whether a movie is good is actually a political act? When I fight with my friends about the Star Wars prequels, I'm actually trying to build a shared world?
In a very deep sense, yes. You are trying to establish a common standard of value. If we can agree on what is beautiful, maybe, just maybe, we can eventually agree on what is good and what is just. It starts with the aesthetic.
That is wildly optimistic, but I kind of love it.
And this is where the source brings up the Sturm und Drang movement.
Storm and stress. Sounds like my teenage years.
It was the literary movement of the time. The bad boys of poetry. The punks.
The ones who would write, "You're a staggerer."
Maybe not quite that bad, but they were the radicals. They rejected all rules. They thought genius was just pure, wild, untamed emotion. I scream, therefore I am art. If it's intense, it must be good.
And Kant was like, calm down, kids.
Kant was very severe toward him. He emphasized that even genius requires rules, not logical determinate rules, but structure, form. The source makes this really cool comparison to a republic.
Like a form of government.
Yes. In a republic, you need a balance between freedom and law. If you have only law, you get tyranny. It's rigid and dead, and there's no creativity.
That's the academic painting. The stock photo. Boring.
But if you have only freedom, you get anarchy. Pure chaos.
And that's the staggerer.
That is the stagger. It's unbridled emotion without the discipline of art. It's just noise. Kant says art needs that balance. It needs to be a republic of the faculties. The imagination, which represents freedom, and the understanding, which represents law, have to work together in harmony.
That is such a cool way to think about it. Art isn't just feelings, it's feelings governed by a form that allows them to be communicated to someone else. If I just cry at you, that's not art. If I write a song about crying that makes you cry, that's art.
Precisely. And that act of communication creates the community.
Okay, I want to move to what was, for me, the most mind-blowing part of the source material. Section 6, the problem of landscapes and violets. I feel like this is the part where Kant really just pulls the rug out from under us.
This is where the source really challenges our most basic, everyday assumptions. It challenges the very idea of what we see when we look out the window.
The source makes a claim that sounds completely insane at first. Nature does not contain landscapes.
It sounds absurd. We walk outside, we see a landscape, we take a photo of a landscape. Of course they exist.
But the source argues that a landscape is a creation of the painter's eye.
Yes.
Nature just contains stuff.
Right.
Trees, rocks, dirt, sky, bugs. It's chaos. It's just matter strewn about. The landscape implies a frame. It implies composition. It implies a point of view.
Exactly. When you look at a view and you call it beautiful, you are mentally cropping it. You're deciding where the center of the image is. You're balancing the light and the dark areas. You're ignoring the ugly trash can on the left and focusing on the nicely shaped tree on the right. You are seeing it through the lens of art.
You are, in effect, painting it with your mind.
You're composing it. So there are no landscapes in nature, only in our perception of nature. Nature provides the paint, but we provide the canvas and the frame.
And then the source gets even more granular and even weirder with the violet paradox.
This one is great.
This one drove me crazy. The question is a bunch of violets a natural beauty, or is it an arrangement?
Think about it. If you take a single violet, torn from its stem, and you put it on a white lab table under a harsh light, is that beautiful? Or is it just a botanical specimen?
It's a specimen. It's small. It's kind of wilting. It's not particularly impressive on its own.
But the source suggests that when we think of a beautiful violet, we aren't thinking of that dissected plant. We are imagining it in context. We are imagining it, as Wordsworth says, by a mossy stone.
Or half hidden from the eye. You're quoting poetry again.
I can't help it. But the point is, our imagination supplies the context. We associate the violet with modesty, with hidden beauty, with the arrival of spring. We build a whole story around it.
That is the key insight. We struggle to find what Kant calls free beauties in nature that aren't already influenced by our concepts or our art. If you know botany, you see the violet as a reproductive organ. If you know poetry, you see it as a symbol. It is very hard to see the thing in itself without all that baggage.
And then there's the nightingale example.
The nightingale, the ultimate romantic cliche.
It's the famous Kantian example. He describes the nightingale singing in a lonely thicket on a still summer evening by the light of the moon.
It sounds perfect. It sounds like a scene from a Disney movie, ready to go.
But the source critiques this very image. He
Yeah.
says, this is a work of art that has been created by the observer.
Because in reality,
Let's be real about the bird.
the bird is just a small, brown, rather aggressive animal. It is chirping to mark its territory or to attract a mate. It's basically shouting, "Get off my lawn," or "Look at me, I'm available."
And the moon is just a big rock reflecting sunlight. And the thicket is just a bunch of prickly bushes where bugs live.
Precisely. But you, the observer, you compose them into a scene. You connect the loneliness of the thicket with the melancholy of the song and the pale, romantic light of the moon. You perform an aesthetic synthesis. You create the mood. The mood isn't in the bird or the rock.
So we are the artists. Every single time we enjoy nature, we are the artists. We are the ones turning the noise of the universe into music. The source concludes that there are no beauties of nature in the strict sense, only an aesthetic synthesis of nature and freedom. You are bringing your freedom, your imagination, your soul to the raw material of nature.
That brings us back to the Niagara problem in a whole new way. The guy who wrote You're a Staggerer wasn't just a bad writer, he was a bad observer. He couldn't perform the synthesis.
He was overwhelmed. He looked at the chaos of the water and he just saw chaos. He was literally staggered by it. He didn't have the definitely articulate soul to process that raw power into an aesthetic idea. He remained stuck in the physical world. He couldn't build a bridge to the supersensible.
Man, so what does this all mean for us? For you, listening? We've gone from bad poetry to the structure of the universe to the moral duty of looking at flowers.
I think the synthesis, that bridge we've been talking about all this time, is the most important takeaway. We started by asking why some art has soul. And the answer seems to be that soul is that very capacity to connect the physical world with the moral world.
The supersensible, the operating system.
Yes. It sounds so abstract and philosophical, but it's actually the most relatable feeling in the world. It's that feeling that the universe makes sense to us, that we aren't strangers here. When you see something beautiful, you are feeling a resonance between your own mind and the world outside. You feel at home.
And that resonance is what we're trying to share when we make art, or even just when we tell a friend to come look at the moon. We're saying, I feel at home here. Do you feel it too?
Exactly. And the source has this beautiful thought on the genius. The genius belongs to their age, but is the truth of that age. They are a kind of prophecy. They articulate what everyone else is feeling, but can't quite say.
Like the opposite of the Niagara poet. The Niagara poet said what absolutely no one was feeling.
The exact opposite.
I want to leave the listener with a final thought that was in the source material because I think it's lovely. And it sums up why we should care about this stuff. Instead of just sticking to science and logic, it's a comparison between logic and aesthetic judgment, and it involves a bird.
Ah, yes. The bird capture comparison.
The source says that logic, trying to analyze everything with facts and hard rules, the determinate concepts, is like trying to put salt on the bird's tail.
Meaning you're trying to catch it. You're trying to hold it, pin it down, dissect it.
And by the time you catch it, it's not singing anymore. It's just a specimen. It's dead.
Exactly. The magic is gone. But aesthetic judgment taste is content to hear the bird singing in the bush. You don't have to catch it. You don't have to own it. You don't have to explain it. You just have to listen and let your imagination play with the song.
That is the difference. One seeks control, the other seeks connection. One wants the box, the other wants the cloud.
And we need the cloud. We need that mystery, that indeterminacy to feel human.
So here is my challenge to you, the listener. The next time you see a sunset or a flower or even just a city street in the rain, stop for a second and ask yourself, are you seeing nature? Or are you seeing a painting that your mind has just created? Are you projecting your soul onto the world? And if you are, well, that's pretty cool. It proves you're not a robot.
A question worth pondering.
Thanks for diving deep with us. And remember, Niagara might be a staggerer, but you don't have to be. We'll see you next time.